Hello everybody, and welcome to the first video in a series that I've been dying to make for so long. We're going into the first dungeon in Final Fantasy XIV, and through this video I'll be showing you a full playthrough of the first 3 dungeons in the start of a series that I like to call A Journey Through Eorzea. Final Fantasy XIV has taken up my life in many ways, and because of that I wanted to make a series of it, as it's kind of ridiculous that I haven't so far. So here we go. Sastasha is the first dungeon you find at level 15, and it will be the very first time that you will be tanking, healing, or DPSing. If you're the tank, and you will see these videos through a perspective of a tank, anything I do, you just try to be respectful to your party members. Now right here, when you get past these mobs in Sastasha, you're going to want to look at the bloody memo. Usually a DPS will run up there and look at it, and then they'll post it in chat what the color is. It's very important what the color is. This time it was red. So you want to pull the next group of enemies, and while you will come across many people who would rather you pull larger, always pull what you are comfortable with. As you fight through each enemy, just be sure, if you're the tank, to keep them away, and the healer can stay safely away and keep you topped off. Now in Sastasha, there's not too many mechanics to really have to worry about, and you can pull larger if you wish. Now, only with your healer's approval. You don't want to put too much stress on people. So once you follow through this pretty straightforward way, you'll come across these little fire lights here. Now, what you want to do is when you knock out the first set, you and your party are going to want to focus on the clams. The clams will constantly respawn these little fires, and because of that, you can only hit them when the clams are open. So the moment you see them open, go knock them out. Should be easy for your DPS. Afterwards, you just want to keep moving through this dungeon at a steady, slow pace. Now, like I said, this is the first of 3. In this video, we'll be covering the first 3 dungeons. That will be Sastasha, Tamtara, and Copperbell, respectively. And the reason we're covering 3 of them are you unlock one after the other, literally in the span of quest to quest. Now, I'll pick back up when we reach our first boss. Alright, we have made it to the boss room, and as you can see, there are corals with different colors. Since we had red, we're going to click on red, and the next button is going to pop. Now, be warned, when you push that button, right behind you the boss will spawn. Immediately grab aggro off it and just point it away from the party. Other than that, it will be a simple burn. Don't forget to grab your, hit the button once more, grab your loot, and on. So the rest of Sastasha is usually pretty straightforward. Pull the mobs, so you can take them in one group at a time or two. If your healer is comfortable with big pulls, you can go two. Personally, I never like to go more than two, as to when you're running something, no matter how high level you are, if you're synced, there's still that chance that you're going to overwhelm the healer, and you don't want to stress them out. And now you enter the second room. Simple strategy with this guy: grab all the enemies in front of you, and the DPS will focus down the adds between the captain, easily leaving the captain exposed. Then you could just start wailing on him. Once the captain is running away like a coward, gather up your loot and you can follow directly behind him. You will then enter a large, kind of, I guess you could think of this as their little hideout pub if you want, a place for them to relax. Pull the enemies directly ahead, and you can look around the room. There are some side rooms that will help you get the Mapping the Realm achievement and uncover all your map in Sastasha. There might be a treasure coffer in there, but for the most part, to progress, you want to pull those enemies, and you want to pull the ones directly in front of us right now. Once the last enemy here will be beaten, or the first enemy will drop the captain's quarters key. After picking up the key, head directly up the hill to the captain's quarter, taking out the enemies in front, of course. Inside, you'll see a Reaver. Shouldn't be too difficult, just pull him and point him away, and everybody just wail on him like there's no tomorrow. He will drop a Wave Rider gate key, as you can see. And the gate you're looking for would be directly to the left as soon as you exit this room. Follow the wall, and you'll find the gate guarded by two opponents right in front. Continue down the cave and you'll come across yet another room, boss room if you will. Always look for the purple line that tells you that it's about to be sealed off once you enter and start the fight. So anyone who's not in there, never pull before everybody is available. Same strategy as the first time you fought this captain. Pull everybody and the DPS will knock down the adds. But this time, you get a slight little twist. Once you're able to start fighting the captain, keep wailing on him, but keep your eye on the door, as you can see. About halfway through his health, he'll open that door and a horde of wolves will come running out. Be sure to gather those wolves the moment they come out so you can easily contain them and burn them down. After that, the captain will run away for the second and final time, and you can continue to the last leg of the dungeon. Now inside this room, there's a lot of enemies scattered here and there. The easiest, simplest way to get to where you need to go is to hug the left wall as soon as you enter. Fight the two sets of opponents that come out, and you'll be able to make it to the boss room, no problem. Now, of course, all the cutscenes in each of these dungeons, I will not be showing in these videos as to not spoil. I will show you, because the cutscenes honestly are some of the coolest parts, to be honest. So, once you finish out this last little guy right here, it's time for the boss. You're looking at a giant Sahagan. Now, the unnatural ripples you see littered around the arena normally would summon adds, but nowadays the more traditional route to take care of this boss is to simply the tank grab him, point him away, and the DPS burn him down, in completely ignoring the unnatural ripples. At a certain point, the DPS will be able to use their limit break when that yellow bar on the top is filled, and that should, at about 12%, 5%, anything below 12%, you should be able to just about kill the boss just like that. Be sure to leave a commendation to a party member you think has helped a lot, and grab your loot. And that is Sastasha. And now we move on to Tamtara. Hello everybody, and welcome to Tamtara, the second dungeon you will be doing in Final Fantasy XIV. Now this one is pretty straightforward, just like the last one you saw, Sastasha. This time though, there will be a few more differences in certain mechanics and bosses, and some more things you have to click on. Alright, let's get started. This will also be the only one I'll show you what a full clear, as they call it, is like. So you want to pull the very first group of enemies, just 2 small fries, should be easily burned down by your DPS. And like I said, this will be a full walkthrough of every dungeon from now to the brand new ones just recently released. So stay tuned and I'll show you exactly how I went through them and how hard it most likely was. Alright, continue forward, head down the hallway, and you'll just be picking up small groups of adds for the majority of this dungeon. None of the adds really pose much of a problem. They're all relatively low level, as they should be, and it should be easy to keep hate and to burn them down if you're a DPS. Healing shouldn't be much of a problem either, as long as you do not decide to pull too much. As you can see, there's a side room over there, and I'm about to show you that in a minute. Usually, side rooms in a lot of these dungeons only hold a treasure coffer that sometimes and sometimes don't hold useful items. Now, as I said in the last one, you can get a Mapping the Realm achievement. That is for every dungeon, and it's kind of an incentive to want to explore every room. In this particular one, there was no treasure coffer, just a few enemies. Now, as you continue down the hallway, you'll come across your first boss room. Now, this is the same as the captain in the last one. You want to pull all of them at once and point them back, while the DPS burns down the 2 smaller adds. The only difference is, once you defeat the last add, be prepared because another add will spawn. Immediately grab that if you're the tank and point him away. General rule of thumb, really. And just burn him down. Once the enemy is defeated, they will drop their treasure coffer, and you'll be able to click on the cultist orb directly behind where I'm standing. And it will open the way for you to continue forward into the dungeon. Same deal, continue forward, pull the ads. This time I ended up grabbing a little extra ad that didn't see me for some reason. Now with these particular kind of ads, you'll see a DPS go and fight him individually. What you want to do is, if you're a DPS, you want to focus on the mage, while the tank has a lot of the other ads under control. The mage, in my opinion, deals more damage and will take less damage because we're not usually hitting them. Once the mage is destroyed, I'll show you another side room. This time it will hold a treasure coffer. And now, after that short little encounter, you make it to the second boss. This time is the exact same as the first, but with free imps instead. The rules still apply. Burn down the ads, kill the new ad that spawns, get your treasure chest, and collect the cultist orb, and continue on further into the dungeon. Here we are. Up ahead, past these free enemies, will be your last side room holding a treasure coffer. With the final treasure coffer gotten and the last of your map taken care of, you're free to push on until you get to the next boss room, which will be directly ahead. Now as you enter the third boss room, you're going to want to pick up the adze in front of the barrier here. And once these adze are taken care of, you're not going to be able to get through the barrier to get to the final set of bosses. Or the final boss room, if you will. So, you're going to want to continue down the way and find the Cultist Rosary, which will be directly ahead. Now with the rosary guarded, you want to pick up the adze, point them away, and do the same old song and dance. And take them out, get the rosary, and the barrier should be no more. Now with the rosary in possession, you'll be able to use it to unlock the sealed barrier, and you'll fight the same set of pull all the adze, stand up on an altar as before, and this time will be no different than the last few times, just more adze to kill. Don't forget that once you kill the last adze, another adze will spawn, and then once you kill them, you're going to, I believe, then your treasure coffer will spawn and you will have to collect the 2 orbs. That will open the pathway to the final boss of the dungeon. Now with Tamtara, the final boss will be your first real introduction into mechanics. As you are fighting the boss will periodically spawn an imp and tether itself to it. Once the imp is spawned, you cannot harm the boss until that imp is killed. Oh my goodness. Let's see. As you shall see. Simply turn the boss away and just keep wailing on it until the imp is spawned. Now the mechanic is usually, here we are. Now, if you're a tank, you can hit it, but it's really up to the DPS to truly kill it and allow you to be able to start harming the boss again. On average, the boss will spawn imps 3 times, the second time coming with some adds. As the tank, you want to gather the adds up as quickly as possible and keep them onto yourself while the DPS takes care of the imp. Then you're able to easily dispel the adds with some AoEs and return to hitting the boss. Be sure to dodge his large AoE and continue wailing. On the third and final time, he will spawn 2 imps and a host of adds. As the tank, just grab the adds and let the DPS handle the imps. It is imperative that all DPS fight the imps, as there's no way to kill the boss otherwise. And with that out of the way, you are free to burn down the boss and complete Tamtara Deepcroft. And of course, don't forget your treasure coffer and to give whoever you thought deserved it a commendation. Our next stop is Copperbell Mines, the third and arguably the most unique of the 3. Hello everybody and welcome to Copperbell Mines. Now, I want to start this run off by saying that for all newbie players, you will, especially if you're tanking, you will come across this a lot more often than honestly you should. Throughout this dungeon, and as I explain the different mechanics and the things that are things that will appear, sometimes DPS will take it upon themselves to run ahead. That was the case here. But I will not spend this entire dungeon guide to simply rant about that. So once you defeat the last enemies, pick up the key and get in the elevator. The dungeon begins. You want to pull your first set of mobs, and honestly it's the same as the first 2. You want to pull your first set and slowly creep your way up. Only pull what you're capable of and what you feel comfortable with. That is always the most important thing for every new player to understand, and sometimes for some veterans to really believe in again, because it's hard when people try to pull for you and you get stressed. This isn't a place for stress. We haven't got to the stress level yet. Of course, there's a side room. I was not able to get into it, I'm afraid. But there would be a treasure coffer in there for another mapping the realm. Now as you continue up here, be wary of the right side, as an ad will pop through the wall. And be sure to grab that. Now most dungeons in this game share the same characteristic as pull the ads, pull what you're able to, what you feel comfortable with, burn them down and move on to the next set. That will always be the case. It is important to note that if you are a tank and DPS are pulling for you, stay calm, do what you can. If you can't handle it, then it's okay to let the person that pulled for you to die. That's my belief anyway. Now, Copperbell, for the most part, is a very straightforward layout of a dungeon. It's easy to follow along, and it's hard to get lost in this place. There are some dungeons that we will cover further on that it's really easy to get lost in. Now, as that DPS just did, you will find from this point on there will be ounces of fire sand sitting around. You're going to want to gather those every time you see them, as they are the way you open up to continue the dungeon. Let's see. Continue forward. Immediately to your left, you will see up on this hill right here will be some more of the fire sand. Now once you get the fire sand, you will place it into the blast chamber and pull the lever. Now you're into your first boss room. The first boss room is very straightforward in this dungeon. It's mostly a mob rush, but most of the mobs are very weak. Honestly, quite a bit through some mobs, the actual boss will drop. The only thing to note about him is that focus fire on him and burn him down. Here he comes. There you go. As you can see, he is dying very quickly. Alright, gather up your treasure. There will always be a treasure chest after each boss room. And continue forwards. Now there will be a treasure coffer right there, but as you can see, there's no time to go get it. Once you get out of the elevator, you're going to want to continue forward. And it's a hunt to get fire sand. There will be fire sand to the left chamber and the right chamber as soon as you exit the elevator. There'll be some mobs inside. You're going to want to kill the bomb. There. A blasting cap, my bad.
inside that small room that you saw there for a second. Let's see here. There'll be a room in the back of this area that will have a treasure coffer in it, right where that person came from. Sometimes it can give you a piece of gear, other times it will just give a potion or so. Powder's back in, blasting cap pushed, and now you are on your way to I believe, the next boss room. Now this one is a fun mechanic. You want to grab a hold of the slime. You can't do a lot of damage to the slime. It has a very high defense and HP pool. You want to instead get the blasting cap's attention. Keep the slime close to the blasting cap. And now, after a few moments, keep it in the AoE. Once the bomb explodes, the slime will get smaller. Complete this 3 times, and you will be able to, the slime will be so small that you'll be able to deal damage to it all on your own. But the second time the blasting cactus spawns, Spriggans will spawn in the corner of the room. It's up to the DPS to kill the Spriggan, right there, before it kills the blasting cap, or else you'll have to wait and restart all over. And just like that, burn the rest of them. And you will be able to, there'll be another thing of fire sand that spawned right where the blasting cap was. You'll be able to place it into the blasting chamber, and once again, blow a hole into this structurally sound mine. Now from here, there's many ways you can go, but the way was chosen to go left. Now if you stick left, you'll go through this cave. You can pull different enemies as it comes through. But sometimes people like to run through this one. There's a treasure coffer to the west, as you see. It was at this point that things got a little bit sporadic. There we go. The mobs are taking care of the room. You're going to want to continue forward. Now these mobs to the left are always going to see the first person that runs through no matter what you do. So just be ready to fight them. After them, it's a straight shot to the final boss. Now the final boss is this big guy right here. His mechanic has kind of been lost to the ages of time, so even if you are just running this for your very first time, you really don't have to worry about it. The tank will simply grab the boss, and the DPS will burn him down. At a certain point, he will run over to the wall you see over there, and here he goes. He will bust down the wall, calling in an ad. The ads will then try to bust down other walls. At this point, you don't even have to worry about the ads, just continue to fight the boss. By the time his ads do anything that could harm you, his health will already be gone. And with that, the third dungeon, Copperbell Mines, is completed. Again, be sure to give a commendation if you think they deserve it. Get a treasure coffer, and prepare for a long stretch of the MSQ ahead. I'll be back with the next dungeon that appears on the list, which will be Halatali from a side quest. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you then.